Hello everybody and welcome back to another Kings of War battle report. I'm Visibly Riley, and today we have Elves versus the Trident Realm. This battle was fought at 1950-ish points and the scenario was Raze. So first off, you might have noticed that there's a giant dragon in the bottom right corner. That is because we are getting ready for the Emerald Dragon GT, and you get a 300, I think they're priced at like 340 or something like that, point model on top, or dragon on top of your 1950 list. I've explained the choices in previous videos, so if you want to check them out, feel free. And I've listed the dragon that both my opponent and I chose in the bottom right corner of our army list this time. So without further ado, let's talk about my opponent's list. And it is illegal. Feel free to guess what it is now, and at the end of the list I will explain what it is. So first off, we have the King Crabs formation, which involves two hordes of Gigas. In this formation, Gigas gain +1 speed, so they go to speed 5, and they gain elite. Then we have a horde of Naiad Worm Riders with the Brew of Sharpness. We have the Holy Trio of Ector, the Siren, and the Trident King. And then we have 2 Knuckers and 2 Kraken. Now, if you haven't figured out what's illegal about the list yet, it is that there aren't enough unlocks for all 4 of those monsters. So in the future, my opponent will probably have to, will definitely have to take this list back to the drawing board. It was sort of a last minute thing where I wanted to play a 1950 plus dragon game, and my opponent didn't have one ready, so it's understandable that this would happen. Now, as for the dragon pairing for this, we've got Nyx, which the rules are right there for you. If you want to look at it again, Nyx has appeared in previous battle reports, but the big thing is that Nyx has a Breath 10 attack, or a Wind Blast 10 with Piercing 2, and then also makes it so all enemy units within 6 inches are -1 to damage, so it's sort of a bubble weakness, and then also a reroll for your opponent, so you can a reroll against your opponent, so you can force your opponent to reroll 1 die a game. So that's what Nyx does. Besides being illegal, I do think that my opponent's list here is pretty good. The Brew of Sharpness, we'd probably drop that in the future, but as I said before, this was just sort of thrown together, and I think this list had 45 points left after we changed it, and you went, Brew of Sharpness, perfect. But in the future, the only thing I don't like is that Brew of Sharpness. I think the rest is great. Swapping it around, probably dropping a Knucker in the future, and then also the Brew of Sharpness down to something more manageable could get you another unit easily. So that'll probably be that. And the Nyx pairing is a pretty good one for Trident Realm. It makes it so you still get the regen. You still get regen going on. Mind Draw is a great aura for them, and then getting yet another Wind Blast into the list is excellent. That can combo with Ector really well, so you can Wind Blast 2 units back and damage them, and then pull 1 forward with the Siren. Pretty cool. Let's move forward onto my list. Now, my list is pretty heavily influenced by, I think, Keith Randall on the recent Countercharge podcast talked about this. I had a similar elf list, and I made some changes just because I really liked the units that he was throwing out there and wanted to try them out. So first off, we have a horde of Kindred Archers with the Heart-Seeking Chant. Then we have 2 regiments of Forest Shamblers, 2 hordes of Draken Riders, a regiment of War Chariots, a Dragon Kindred Lord with Brew of Haste, an Elven Mage with Alchemist's Curse and a mount, 2 Elven Princes, both of whom have a mount and a saber-toothed Pussycat. Then we have a Forest Warden with Blizzard and Inspiring Talisman bringing up the rear. So this is an interesting take on an elf list. Traditionally, I've never fielded an Elven Prince before. I thought that sounded really cool, and I also added that Elven Mage into it because I just hadn't thought about how deadly it could be with Alchemist's Curse. I don't play Elves that often, and in fact, you're going to see that in this battle report, wow, what a mess my army is, because I just went, I'll just grab the stuff out of my garage and put it on the table, but it ended up being an interesting enough game that I thought, why not make it a battle report? So that's what we're doing. And next up, while I do think Shenron in this in Emerald Dragon GT is the strongest dragon, and Shenron does go very well with this army in particular. I wanted to try out Nyx, who I think is the distant second place dragon, just to see how it would work out, especially again after listening to that Countercharge podcast in the way that the Keith Randall and I can't remember the other guy who was on it. Sorry about that. I'm bad with names. I only know Keith's name because I looked it up to make sure I would give him credit for his army list here. But yeah, listening to the way that they play elves, very different from the way that I play it, and considering my losing streak with elite armies recently, I decided to take a different tact. So yeah, Nyx combos pretty well here, giving that extra wind blast to push people off, just like the Silver Breeze unit. It really helps create that distance. It's essentially a free bit of chaff every turn for elves. So anyway, let's move on to the game. So here is the table, and before we go any further, let's talk about the terrain. So in the bottom right hand corner we have a height flat water feature. Then right above it we have a height 6 forest. To the left of that, we have another height flat water feature. Below that, we have a height 2 hill. Right above that, we have a height 1 obstacle attached to a height 4 house. Below that, we have another height 1 obstacle attached to another height 6 forest. And finally, appearing off frame a little bit is another height 2 hill. Whoop, my mouse got away from me. It's a bit like this, only without that weird jagged piece in the middle. So that's the terrain. And let's talk about the scenario. Raze is a fun scenario, although I would say it has too many tokens, because all objectives. So let's get into it. So first off, we have Raze has 7 objectives on the table. First off, you put 1 in the dead center. And then you and your opponent each get 3 objectives that you place fully on your opponent's side of the table, 1 by 1, right? I place 1, you place 1, etc. Right? They have to be 3 inches away from impassable terrain and 12 inches or more than 12 inches away from each other. And you might sort of be getting where this is going, because also it has to be, all these tokens have to be placed in a 12-inch band in the center of the table. So 6 inches from the center line both ways, right? And that makes it very difficult to actually place these tokens, because my opponent could place one right here, and then it makes it so this side of the table can only have 1 more token on it. Right? It's just mathematically impossible with a 3-inch board edge and then 12 inches from this token. It's now impossible to place tokens over here. So it just has too many. If you want to have the 12, then it should be like 6 inches away from opponent's token and 12 inches away from your own, or something like that. But as it is, it's not a particularly great scenario in my opinion. But anyway, let's talk about what happens. First off, I placed in a token there, a token here, and then off frame there is another token from me placed. Then my opponent has 1 here, too close to the board edge, and then 1 right here, and again 1 off frame right here, off the picture. And Raze does have a cool mechanic in how it works though, which is all the tokens except for all the control points except for the center one, so not this one. At the end of the second turn, you can start burning the tokens, right? So you land on it, you control it like a normal objective, meaning that you have the highest unit strength within 3 inches of it. And if you then score it, so you get 1 point and the token disappears. You can contest your own tokens, or you can contest your opponent's tokens, which are the gold tokens for me, and then these black on clear tokens for my opponent. But you can't control them, so I can't burn these tokens. Only these ones. So, and then the center token is worth, I believe 1 VP, maybe 2 VP, if you control it at the end of the game. So that's what we're doing. And without further ado, let's talk about the armies. Moving forward, we've got, for my opponent, we've got the Ector model. So Ector's right there. Then we have both hordes of Gigas right here, or 1 Gigas with a bunch of space, but still pretty cool. Behind them, we've got the first Nucker. Then, oh, this picture's blurry. Right back here is the second Nucker, followed by both the big boys. These are the Krakens, just chilling right there. Then over here in a less blurry picture, we have the Trident King next to the Worm Riders with Brew of Sharpness. The second Knucker, behind that Knucker right here, that is the Siren, and then this is my opponent's Nyx model. So that's the deployment for Trident Realm. Let's go into Elves. So for Elves, yeah. So first off, on the left here, we have one horde of Draken Riders. Behind them, we have my Dragon Kindred Lord. This blank base, so right here, this 75 by 75, that's actually where Nyx is. This model over here is the Nyx model, but wouldn't fit with all the wings going on, so nah. Right in front of Nyx, we have our first Elven Prince with a Pussycat. Then to the right of that, we have the second horde of Draken Riders. Right behind them, the second Elven Prince with a Pussycat. Then off to the right of that, we have the regiment of chariots right here. To the right of that, we have some Elven archers in the woods with Heart-Seeking Chant. And finally up, whoa, this is a great picture. This blurry picture, the ogres are my tree people today, my shamblers. So this guy right here is my Forest Warden with Blizzard and the Inspiring Talisman. And oof, these pictures are super blurry. These two are the shamblers. So let's move forward and get away from that. So turn one. The Elves win the roll-off, I do believe, and decide to... oh no, I actually lose the roll, and my opponent makes me go first. So I advance with my army just to, get the left side, or my left, into firing range, and the right side into getting some combat going on. My plan right here is to burn this token with my Draken Riders as quickly as I can, and then take this token because I got a 12-inch Vanguard and then a 6-inch move onto that token, so I get to burn that starting next turn. But yeah, so burn these two tokens off real quick, burn this one as soon as I can, and then stop my opponent from being able to get to this token. So that is all I want to do. So I want all this to be a distraction, and all this to hold, because there isn't too much on this side of the table, and if these Krakens want to move into the middle of the table, Elves have such a high interdiction force that I will just fly into them and charge. So not a great placement. But anyway, with my movement, I do as you see. I believe the archers here fire into some Gigas real quick. I think we fire at the Gigas with the chariots firing. I think all my bows go into these Gigas, and I fire a blizzard shot into maybe Ector, yeah, or the Gigas. Either way, it's depth 6, so yeah, I probably fired it into Ector just to pip some damage onto him real quick. This is the first double one of the game, which is yeah, these Gigas take 2 wounds and I get a double one. So unlucky. And that is the end of turn 1 for the Elves, so we move on to turn 1 for the Trident Realm. This is just showing off my opponent, measuring where this dragon is. Yeah, I might have had to replace this dragon after the movement from the last shot. It's a little messy, but anyway, moving forward, we've got my opponent's final movement, which is the Gigas have pushed into the center. It's as smart a play as Gigas can make. They're a pretty point-and-click unit, right? Def 6, go forward. Ector decided to run over to this token to protect against a flank charge from Shamblers. I'm not sure how necessary that is, because... So for first off, Ector can just push me away, right? I can surge, right? But I think I'm like 10 inches away from here, or just barely within 10. So a 3-inch wind blast from the Kraken Maw will push me out of charge range anyway. And secondly, if I do charge, I'm charging over this barrier, so I will have a hindered charge. I have no Bane Chant in the list, so I'm just Crush 1. They are Def 4 in the side, but still, I'm not so sure about this move. Then we've got both the Kraken just moving into the center. As I said before, it's a little difficult for them to take the center because I can move so quickly. So my opponent is just staying out of charge range. This dragon does not need to be this far back. I probably put him there because his wings are kind of a pain in the butt with all the other wings from these guys. So it should be a little closer just to make it so this can't happen, which is the Kraken is out of 22 and out of 20. So meh, it happens though. Then we've got this Knucker moving behind the forest to protect itself. None of my units entered the forest, obviously. Then we've got the Trident King moving forward a little bit. The Worm Riders keeping back. Seems to be a common strategy with this opponent, and a sound one, so staying over there. And the Siren having an interesting, making an interesting decision here to just sit out in the open and not cast anything. Nyx also decides to not move forward because it's just staying at a 20. So yeah, doesn't want to get charged just yet by a horde of Draken Riders. But that is the end of, or no, we've got the shooting. I don't think my opponent has any shooting because Ector ran, the Trident King has no targets and no targets and no targets. So no value from Nyx just yet in this game. And we move on to turn 2. So turn 2 for the Elves goes like this. So first off, I still have a flank charge with my Shamblers on those Gigas. So if we roll a picture back, I can just walk by Ector, right? Like I can just hit this side and then I slide down. So I go for that flank charge. It is hindered. Meh, happens. This is when the Alchemist Curse really comes into play. Ector is def 6. Alchemist Curse doesn't care. That is bad news bears for my opponent. And I've also set it up so I'm banking on Alchemist Curse doing the lion's share of the damage I need here. So looking for 4 to 5 wounds. But then I also have my horde of archers ready to shoot. They did not move, so they're only taking the -1 for individual. And I also have a blizzard just to just in case I roll poorly enough. I do need to make sure Ector can't charge this wizard. So, in the end, I actually do walk the wizard back a little bit just so I don't get charged. The wizard can be Kraken mod and is just within 12 since Ector only charges 10. So that's the plan. On the right hand side, things are a little different, which is I don't really want to get charged just yet. So I take the Elven Prince that was over here behind these Draken Riders, and I just run them over there to get charged by the Worm Riders since they can't fly. And the other Elven Prince realizes that if I go into the woods, I am exactly 12 inches away from where the Siren is. So she was almost exactly 22 inches away. So I move forward to throw a pussycat at her, and then Nyx is within 18 to slap her with the Wind Blast. So that's the plan there. This dragon is moved back again? That doesn't seem right. Maybe he's just falling over, or maybe I'm just bad. But yeah, that's where he ends up, somewhere around here. And then the Draken Riders do back up a little bit, so the Krakens cannot charge me. I think the Trident King might have a charge, but the Trident King doesn't have Pathfinder, so we'll end up in the woods if they want to fight. Or if he wants to fight against my dragons. So that's the plan. I will be burning this token this turn and the token over here with my Shamblers. So looking forward to that. The other token I have is, I believe, under the Gigas right now. So, or no, it's right here. It's right behind Ector. And these Gigas are just barely within 3 inches, so I won't burn that. But otherwise, that'd be a deadly turn too. And here is what turn 2 looks like at the end of shooting. Yeah, this dragon does just go into the pocket there to inspire everyone. So first off, on the left, my Alchemist Curse goes bonkers. I believe I hit with 8 and wound with all 8. Then I decide that's enough because it's a 4, I believe, to waver Ector, and that's what I'm looking for. Waver or kill, they're both fine. So I decide to take my archers and fire into these Gigas because I couldn't protect my archers well enough. I mean, I could have, if I had walked, I could have walked the Forest Warden here and then walked my chariots over here, but that would have been just losing the chariots, possibly losing the Warden to protect the archers for one more turn. I think I'd prefer to get shot by Gigas, or charged by Gigas, because these ones can't charge anywhere, as Gigas are only height 1, so not seeing over that hill. So that's the plan. With my bows, I fire, I wound 2 times. Did those archers walk backwards? No, I don't. Maybe they did. Maybe I think I actually did just walk back with the archers a little bit to stay at a 10 here. But yeah, we end up doing 2 more wounds onto these Gigas, not too much. The chariots also fire there and don't do anything. Oh no, that's right, they got charged. Yeah, Yeah, that's the ticket. Sorry about that. So yeah, I decided I got this flank charge. I do 2 wounds, not that great, but still, it's okay. And I end up getting a waiver here. Very lucky. I think that they're a 15-17, so that's an 11 on that waiver. Huge news. Ector dead as well, so no reroll, or I guess you don't reroll waiver, but so Ector's gone due to the shooting. These guys are wavered, and then my shooting actually goes onto this Kraken. So I fire off my bow or my archers and the chariots all into this Kraken. I end up doing 5 wounds. It is a 17-19, so I don't boxcar it to waiver. And we move on. Oh no, there's one last thing, which is I fire into the Siren. I don't do too well because I've got the 10 shots from Nyx on 4s and 2s, right? So like 4 or 5 wounds, and then I have the 5 Pussycat attacks onto the Siren, which is 5 exploding, right? So 4s and 2s with elite and exploding, and I only end up doing 5 wounds, so I don't roll too well. And as the cherry on top, I don't roll well on the break test. I don't even waiver her, so meh, happens though. And we move forward onto turn 2 for the Trident Realm. So turn 2 Trident Realm is an interesting one. First off, we've got the Gigas turning to face my 4 Shamblers, so they are wavered, ready to fight. We've got a Knucker going into my archers here. That's a smart move. I mean, it's basically what Knuckers are built for. Even in the front, it's still a good charge. These Gigas take the hill to threaten my chariots and my archers at the same time. Again, a good move. Both the Krakens just advance forward to mess around with the Draken Riders. I'm not too sure about this. I mean, I guess it's okay, especially as the Trident King here has moved forward. But anyway, we've got the Worm Riders just going directly forward to kill off this Prince. Seems like an easy go of it. And then we've got, looks like she regened most of her wounds. But anyway, so yeah, we've got the Siren moving forward to cast Siren's Call onto Nyx, along with Nyx to cast... No, wait, it's Siren's Call onto the Dragon Riders, because this Knucker has not charged them. It's just standing 1 inch in front of them, and then once the Siren's Call goes off, I will be grounded, so I won't be able to fly past. And then Nyx, I believe, goes for the just a bit of damage to slap onto the Dragons as well. So that is what it looks like at the end of the turn. It looks like this. So yeah, the wavered Gigas get ready to get front charge this time by the Shamblers. The Knucker does 5 wounds to my archers, so that's painful. They are not wavered. That is a disorder token, just showing off that they can't shoot. Looks like these Gigas decided at the last minute to change their movement. Oh, I remember now. It's because, so when my opponent does this, I go, do you want to? Because these Dragon Riders can 100% see the flank of those Gigas. And so I let my opponent just take a different course of action and advance forward onto the chariots. So just pushing hard. Yeah, you can see, in fact, the widget's out now just to show it's just barely dodging this. So anyway, yeah, and then with the other combats, we've got the Worm Riders over here killing off my Noble Prince, and the Nyx plus Siren combo pushing and pulling these Draken Riders, so they are disordered, and they've taken a couple of damage from Nyx. So let's see how turn 3 looks. So turn 3. We've got on the left here these Shamblers advancing into the fight. At this point in the game, I forgot that they were speed 6. I remembered at the beginning, then I forgot about it. So now they're going to move 5. So, happens. The other Shamblers go into the front of the Gigas along with a flank charge from the Forest Warden. So with the Forest Warden's recent buffs, it's just a great piece. It only has 3 attacks, but on a 3+, and I believe crushing 2. So very deadly. We've got the archers countercharging into the front of the Knucker there. And then, so I had the opportunity here to try to mess over these Knuckers because I've got an Alchemist Curse. Oh no, I remember why. It's because this wizard, this is as far as it could go from where it ended up after it moved away from where Ector was. So yeah, I actually, when I pulled it back, I should have pulled this way, right? Because the plan was to go after Ector here and then be able to swoop around to make it so I'm always in the front of the Gigas. So they've got that Def 6 versus Alchemist Curse. but it's not what happened. So instead I go over here. I am in its flank, so I can't, well, I could Alchemist Curse, but only on 4s. So instead I decide to just charge the chariots here, and then my wizard will go for a heal onto the archers. So that's the plan. Over on the right hand side, things are a bit more lively with the dragon kindred lord landing in the woods. The point of that is to make it so these dragons are not hindered, as the kraken have ensnare, so I don't want to be hitting on 5s, right? This kraken's sitting on 5 wounds, so I can get a kill here, right? But I need to play smart, so I decided to put this dragon kindred lord here. I'm not super worried about getting charged because my other prince, which was here, has run in and charged against this kraken, so there's no way this guy can get into the dragon kindred lord or the dragon riders once they reform after they kill this off, right? So that's the plan there. And I can tank the Trident King, right? Trident King charging into my front. He doesn't have Pathfinder and is only crush 1 after losing the Thunder one, so I'm not worried about it. On the right, I decided to take the Dragon Riders that were messed around, that the Siren messed around with, and go into this Knucker, just going for some easy points, or easy kill there. There is a... I don't know if I blew up the objective last turn or if I'm blowing it up this turn. Either way. And then Nick's sitting right behind them because I can eat quite the counter charge from the Worm Riders and from Nyx, the other Nyx. So that's the plan. My Nyx does cast Mind Fog or whatever it's called, Mind Rot. I don't remember. Wind Blast onto the Siren, looking to finish the job. Actually looks like the Siren took 7 damage. So a little bit better, but makes that nerve check even worse because I believe the Siren is a 12-14. So anyway, going for the kill there. And let's see how it all goes. So first off, we've got double ones 2 of the game, which is actually double ones 3. I didn't take a picture of it, but this Kraken, after I did 5 wounds to it, I double one that roll, but I didn't want to make that joke twice in one game. But yeah, now we get a double ones here. The Kraken is on 17 wounds, I want to say. The Drakens did 12 wounds, so this is a legitimate double ones, which is super bad. Again, the only thing I don't like about double ones is that this Kraken can charge me. It should be completely wavered regardless of whether it's fearless or not. That's what should happen. But anyway, so that's double ones. That's a double bad plan, as this Kraken can slip by there's the prince that charged the Kraken. So that Kraken can slip by this prince into their flank, right? I just needed to reform at the end of my charge and make it, well, either overrun, which I probably wouldn't do. I'd probably just reform to take it in the front, as this is a completely unwounded Draken Horde. But I get a double one, so that's bad. Yeah, you can see it here. This Kraken is sitting on 17 wounds. So let's see if we get, yeah, here is the end turn shot, which is on, so we've got the double one here. On the right over here, I wound this Knucker. I don't do too much to it though. So these Dragon Riders, and Nyx did, my opponent's Nyx did like 5-ish damage to me, so not great. I did some damage to the Knucker. I guess that's to be expected, as I ended up in the woods with these ones. And again, the Knucker does now have ensnare. So no, it always had ensnare. Now it has stealthy. But anyway, it's 5 pluses to hit and then 3 pluses to wound. So I do some. I guess that's what I can ask for. And then my Nyx does kill off the Siren, so that's good. And then off here on the left, my chariots do 2 wounds to these Gigas. Whatever. My archers do 2 wounds to the Knucker. That's actually pretty good, as the archers are only hitting on 6s here. And the Gigas up here, I don't do too well. They are sitting on 10 damage, I want to say. I luckily do get a waiver here, but it was only a 7 once to kill. So, actually, no, that looks like another die there. So it's even, that was an even worse roll then. But anyway, I digress. I don't kill them, I just waiver them. So they are wavered once again. And moving on to turn 3 for the Trident Realm. So turn 3 Trident Realm, these Gigas decide to just sit there. We've got the Knucker again going into my archers on the left flank. Then we've got the other Gigas going into my chariots. I mean, that one's very dicey, as the Gigas only have 12 attacks, but they are rerolling once due to that elite. You can see this Kraken over here is sitting on 1 wound. That's because my my friggin' noble did 1 wound. The base here is where that Kraken is, but they're so big. Those models are so big that they don't really play well with anyone else, so I just gave him the Nyx base for now. You can see this Kraken is down to 6 wounds, and that is because my opponent regened 11 of them. So opponent regen for just this one Kraken is at 11 right now. Then we've got the Trident King deciding to, I believe, charge the Noble? No, didn't charge the Noble, decided to shoot instead, because if the Trident King charged the Noble, the overrun wouldn't take him into my Dragon Kindred due to the wonky individual rules. And then he could also just charge the Dragon Kindred with Nimble, but I again am in the terrain, and my opponent agreed. Trident King doesn't win that fight. So instead, going for some shooting. Then my opponent originally wanted to triple charge the Dragon Riders. I reminded him that the Worm Riders are the same size, like they're both 150 millimeters to the front, meaning that you can't triple charge there because it's corner to corner, and due to how these units were going to line up, because this Knucker wanted to run off, it just wasn't going to work with the Trident King, the Worm Riders, and Nyx, because the Worm Riders were in the middle. So instead it's a double charge from the Worm Riders and Nyx. Still nothing to laugh at, as those are brute sharpness guys, right? That's bad. And yeah, that's about it. They are going to be within Nyx's bubble though, so that's pretty good. It'll make it so this Nyx is, my opponent's Nyx wounds me on 4s, so 7 attacks on 3s and 4s, and then the Worm Riders have 18 attacks. 18 attacks on 2s and 4s as well. Yeah, Crush 1, Thunder 1. So I could survive it, but I believe I already have 5 wounds on it, so that's not a good sign. And here is just a quick action shot of how my Drakens go softly into the night. And there it is. It is not particularly quiet, at least not from me, which is these Dragon Riders, after that double one, get exploded, mostly because of the flank charging Kraken. Surprising. So 45 attacks on 4s and 3s is easily enough to kill out those Dragon Riders. The other Dragon Riders also easily get killed off. I mean, I wasn't really expecting these ones to live, given what they were facing off against. But yep, they die. Nyx looks like... I'm not sure how Nyx got... Oh, it's Nyx decided to turn in place, and the Worm Riders here advanced. I get it here. So yeah, this Nyx's base is a little nebulous, so keeping an inch away from where we think it is. So anyway, on the left-hand side, these Gigas kill off my Chariots. That's, again, not particularly lucky for my opponent, but, you know, it's that 7s or 5s or whatever to kill, and got it. And then turns to get a flank charge onto my archers if I allow that to happen. This Knucker again does a couple wounds to my archers. Oh, that's right, I did heal these archers down. I think I healed 2, and then I've taken another couple wounds, so I think we're at 6 right now. And then we've got, yep, these were wavered, so that's about it. And we move on to turn 4. Oh, well, there was one thing, which is the Trident King decided to shoot, I believe, shot at my dragon, did 0 wounds. And we move on to turn 4. So turn 4, yeah, it's an interesting one. I can't charge with these Shamblers because, yeah, for a second there I was thinking, I remember that their height was different. I knew it was 1 at the beginning. Again, you mess things up like that, or at least I messed things up like this during the game. But yeah, I could charge both of them because I can't see past my own Shamblers to see the guys here. So instead I just take 1 Shambler regiment into the front. I decide to leave it at that, as even 1 wound will make it so this is a 4 to waver, and that's good enough for me. I move my Force Warden forward to see like this, so I can shoot the Blizzard here if I want, or I can Blizzard here. So, you know, just giving options. Again, moving the Alchemist Curse forward to getting that 12 inches onto these guys, hoping to just 1-round them, or at least get a lucky waver there, because my archers decide to just charge into the the Knucker. I could have backed up and got both these units into my front, but yeah, I didn't want to, because again, my whole goal is to keep my opponent away from this token, so the farther we are to the right, the better for me. So that's what I do. On the right hand side, now with both my Dragon Hordes gone, this is looking a little bit more dicey. First off, I decided to fly Nyx into the forest. Nyx is very difficult to take out in the forest, even for Trident Realm, as my opponent has a mixture of Pathfinder and not Pathfinder. So I'm past these Worm Raiders. Worm Raiders can't charge me because they can't see me. Same thing for the Knucker. It might look like the Knucker can see me, but it's just barely out. So no Knucker, no Worm Riders. Both the Krakens can charge me in the front if they want, but I'm hoping to actually kill this Kraken off. It did regen 11 wounds last round, which super sucks. But still, I'm hoping to be able to have Nyx, and then I also have my Dragon Kindred Lord back here somewhere, ready to shoot into this Kraken, kill it off. And then all I have to do is tank one Kraken to the front, and then this Nyx possibly to the flank. Nyx flank charge, not great, so instead I decide to take my Prince and go in here. So the Prince has 3 attacks on 3s, and then I believe 4's the wound. I think the Prince is crush 1. So... or no crush, and then it's 5s. But all I'm looking for is 1 wound onto Nyx, and if I can get that, that'd be great. Otherwise, eating the flank charge from Nyx is the best thing I can eat it from, because Nyx doesn't have Pathfinder. So no, 1 Thunderous will go away, and then because of my Aura of Weakness, a second one will go away. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. With and this is just a quick action shot. Pretty cool. This actually makes it a lot clearer that the Knucker can't see me, but anyway. And here is the end of the turn. So first off, let's start on the left. You can see I've killed off both the Gigas Hordes. These ones, I really did not expect to get that, but I spiked some damage through. These ones, again, Alchemist Curse just proves to be money against defense 6 and just blows them out of the water, although I do have to supplement it with a Blizzard here to get the kill, so that sucks a little bit. My archers go into this Knucker, and they hit with a crazy number. It's like 6 or 7 hits on 6s, but then I gotta roll that 4+ to wound, and I don't, so I think I did 1 wound to the Knucker, or maybe 0. Whatever. On the right, I get this Kraken up to 12 wounds now, so I need a 5 to waver, and I get the waver, so that's super nice. So again, I'm not going to eat double Kraken onto Nyx, so that's great. And I think that's about it. Oh yeah, that's about it. So I remember almost all this damage. Oh, I also pushed this Kraken back a little bit because Nyx hits. So anyway, we move on to turn 4 for the Trident Realm. So turn 4 Trident Realm. On the left, we've got this Knucker continuing its 1 Knucker campaign against my Archer Horde, looking for that kill. Then we've got this Kraken decides to turn like so to face off against my Dragon, and it is now regened 6 of those wounds, so it's up to 17 out of 23 wounds that I've done to it. It has regened back, so not looking great, but still pretty funny. We do have a double charge with the Trident King and this Kraken going into Nyx, because the opponent's Nyx I did manage to nail 1 wound on, so I either rolled a 5 to wound or a 6 to wound, as this Nyx does have the weakness aura as well. So yeah, grounded Nyx right there, great job. Didn't even mention it. That's how confident I was in this noble prince. But yeah, getting a double charge, and then this Worm Rider Horde just decides to reform, as you see, to flank or rear Nyx next turn, since I'm trapped by my opponent's estimation. The other Knucker, which is sitting on 4 wounds, I'm not exactly sure from what. Must have been from earlier in the game, probably from my breath attack. But oh yeah, it was from this dragon, I think. Went for a breath onto it. But anyway, sitting on 4 wounds, decides to go and raise the token here. So now my opponent has raised all the tokens except for the one that I'm protecting on the far left here. And I've raised all of my tokens. So it might come down to that middle objective. And let's see how the end of turn goes. So here's the Nyx fight. And it goes about how I expected. Again, another blurry picture, but this Knucker does manage to land some wounds onto the archers. They're getting closer to that not needing boxcars to be wavered. In fact, I think they are now on 9 wounds. So that is a 10 to waver, something like that. I might be wrong, but anyway, they're stacking up the wounds there. Nyx actually takes quite a bit of damage here. But the Kraken can definitely spike damage out because 15 attacks on 4s due to having Pathfinder or Strider, and then also Crush 2 becomes Crush 1, so wounds on a 4. Manages some serious damage through here. Nyx is only a -17, but thankfully holds, so Nyx is ready to fight. The enemy Nyx, I believe, countercharged onto my Prince and does nothing, which is funny, and that's it. Let's move on to turn 5. So turn 5 for the Elves looks like this. First off, on the left, I now have a flank charge onto the Knucker with these 4 Shamblers, so I go for that. These 4 Shamblers have a flank charge onto this Kraken, so they take that. My opponent was well aware of this, but couldn't figure out a way to move without eating a flank charge from either the Dragon or the Shamblers, or possibly both, so instead just takes the flank from the Shamblers. I take my Force Warden and decide it's probably already in a good spot. I did have a flank charge. Let's roll some pictures. Oh, yeah, that's right. I was too far away. So I move forward a little bit, again, thinking I'm speed 5 at this point in time. And I've got Blizzard Shot. I've got a Blizzard Shot onto this Knucker if I want it. I'm going to try to mix with Alchemist Curse to kill it off. And if Alchemist Curse does well enough, I will instead shoot at this Kraken, probably. And speaking of that, my Nyx has a perfect move here. Nyx is only speed 9, so I move 9 inches. I'm now butt to butt with my Noble after my Noble charges my opponent's Nyx again, and I'm just barely out. It's like, there's my corner, and we're like, beep, whoop, go around it. So yeah, just barely out of getting charged there. Perfect. So the Worm Raiders, none of this can charge me. So absolutely perfect movement for Nyx there. Nice little pocket. And we move forward into the combats, and here's the end of the turn shot. So, well, I haven't reformed with these yet, but in shooting, I do manage to kill off the Knucker that was here, so that's really good. I do have to use both my units on it, so to be expected though. I mean, Alchemist Curse is only on a 4 against the Knucker. The Archers and the 4 Shamblers here managed to kill off the Knucker that's protecting, or that's pushing into the left side, so that's really good. I do reform these, I believe, I think I go forward. We'll see in another picture how the reform goes. And then over here with the Dragon and the guys, I know what they're called, the 4 Shamblers, geez, they do manage to kill off that Kraken, and I might have, so I know I've told you that it regened 17 out of 23, but it actually ended up regenning, I think, 25 wounds we counted in the game total. So there's some wounds in there that I missed, but yeah, regenning like 25 of maybe like 30 wounds. Yikes, or 32 wounds. That is a lot, but I do manage to take it down. I don't double on it. In fact, this is what I roll, get that hot 3, but perfect roll for killing it. And off on the right, I think I failed to wound Nyx this time, which is, you know, that's fair. So this Nyx is now a fully operational dragon, and we'll see how that goes during Trident Realm turn 5. So Trident Realm turn 5, I think this is just showing off the reform. These 4 Shamblers reform like so, just to get out of the way of the Archers who reform towards the shooting fight. And here is the Trident Realm movement. So they all get into this one forest, basically. The Kraken here is protecting against my Dragon, which is where the Dragon's actual base is, not where the proxy base is under it. So, yep, just protecting against that. The Trident King just about faces as well to shoot at me. Nyx is sitting slightly out of the forest here, while the Worm Raiders just roll up into the forest. So that's the plan. There's not a whole lot for my opponent to do here. I believe their Nyx actually ran to get over here, so no shooting. The Trident King does have a gun and does shoot, I believe, into the Dragon for no effect, or maybe shoots one of the 4 Shamblers for little effect, but all those units are def 5. So, yep, just showing off that shot, and we move into turn 6. So turn 6 for the Elves is pretty simple. Yes, it was in fact into these Shamblers, and they actually did take some serious damage. It's 5, but 4 Shamblers are a dash 14, so 9 twice is difficult to get, especially as I can make my opponent reroll 1 die. They've already made me reroll a die, which was on the Kraken fight here, I think. Was it here? I can't remember exactly where I had to reroll the die. Oh no, I do remember. It's coming up this turn. So I decide that it's not worth trying to shoot into the woods here, and instead I'm going to go for a kill on Nyx. Nyx is my easiest target because I can get an Alchemist Curse. Nyx is def 5. Well, 1, Alchemist Curse cannot be modified in any way for the wound roll, so weakness does not work, but I also am well out of 6. My dragon is also well out of 6, and my plan is to just hit it with the I believe this model is actually where this proxy base is. So hit it with my, what is this? Blizzard, plus Breath 10, and then Alchemist Curse 10, and then these archers, along with my Nyx, right? Just ready to shoot into them. But I do make a slight error, which is my Nyx was facing this way, and I could have just pivoted like this, gone 9, and then pivoted again, and then I would have been in the rear of this Nyx, I think, and that would have been a much better move, as I could have wind blasted Nyx forward, right? And then the archers don't even have to move, so they don't have to take that -1 for the shooting here, but I don't do that. And I also originally had pushed these 4 Shamblers forward to keep my opponent from being able to get into the center objective, but then I decide, well, why don't I just make it so they can't charge at all? So I just move my 4 Shamblers back. I currently have 2, 4, 5 unit strength within the 3-inch bubble here, while my opponent can only well, actually with the 75 by 75 base, I think it's only 1 unit strength, but at most it is going to be 2 unit strength due to the triangle of power I've created here. And let's see how the combat or the shooting goes. So shooting, yeah, I do end up removing Nyx. I do 9 wounds total, which isn't good. It's not bad. And I need an 8 to kill, and I get it. So it's an 8 twice, though, because of the Trident King. I still get it. So some great break checks there. And let's see how the Trident Realm responds. This one is definitely out of 3 inches. So this is not in there. It's just blocking from units being able to get in here. But I still have 2, 4. So anyway. In my opponent's turn, there is a charge here onto my Dragon Lord. Again, no, Nyx wouldn't have been able to do that. Originally, I was like, well, you know, my Nyx makes it so you're -1, but you know, you're obviously going to charge out of that. I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah. So an easy charge into the front of my Dragon Lord with my opponent's. Oh, that's the other thing, is that I ran the. That's right. If we move a picture back, you can easily see that my noble has gone here. It was sitting 1 inch in front of both the Trident King and the Kraken. The Kraken is not nimble. The Trident King is. So I was also blocking the charge that way. So there's no running over here, right? So yeah, they go into my noble, or my what is it called? Prince, ready to kill it off. And let's see. Oh, that is apparently the last picture I have. But if we go back to this picture, my opponent does manage. Oh my god. Oh my god. My opponent does manage to kill off the Prince finally, and does manage some pretty good damage on my dragon here, because again, it's, you know, it's 18 attacks on 2s and then 3s, but does not manage to kill it, at least with that reroll. So at the end of the game, I have all 3 of my points burned. I do control the center objective, while my opponent has only burned 2 of theirs. So it is a 4-2 victory for the Elves, with my opponent also losing pretty heavily on attrition here, as Nyx is worth 340 points if you kill it. So yeah, pretty sound victory for the Elves. I mean, this list is just straight murder. It's very difficult, and I look forward to playing it in the future. So, and again, I wouldn't have brought all these proxies out if, 1, I'd had time this week, or 2, I had known I was going to do a battle report, but I thought the game was a little too fun not to show off. So I hope you guys agree, and if you don't, or whatever, feel free to leave a comment. Until next time, bye.